You mentioned something that there's a funny story about. We haven't talked at all about the actual process of writing the book. Is is there? You guys made a bet of some kind?
Yeah.
Is this a true story? Is this a completely false, fabricated
No,
story?
it's true. Liv she's mean when I did not know mean Liv. She's
Yeah.
she's like a bully. She's like scary. I have that screenshot. So Liv was FaceTiming me and she was like being intimidating, and I took a screenshot and I made it my phone background. So every time I opened it, I was like, ah.
So to give the background of this, it's because, if you hadn't noticed, Tim started writing this book how many years ago? 6?
2016,
Right.
mid 2016.
Right, as sort of a response to like the Trump stuff and
Not even. It was just supposed to be a mini post. I was like, oh, I'm looking at all these like future tech things, and I feel this like uneasiness, like, we're gonna like mess up all these things. Why? There's like some cloud over our society. Let me just write a mini post. And I opened it up to WordPress to write a 1-day little essay, and things went
On politics.
It was going to be on like this feeling I had that our tech was just growing and growing, and we were becoming less wise. What's up with that? And I just wanted to write just a little 1,000-word essay on like something I think we should pay attention to, and that was the beginning of this 6-year nightmare.
Did you anticipate the blog post would take a long while?
I don't remember the process fully in terms of. I remember you saying, "Oh, I'm actually writing this. It's turning into a bigger thing," and I was like, and because the more we talked about, I remember we were talking about it. I was like, "Oh, this goes deep," because I didn't really understand the full scope of the situation, like nowhere near. And you sort of explained it, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, I see that." And then the more we dug into it, the deeper and deeper and deeper it went. But no, I did not anticipate it would be 6 years. Let's put it that way. And
when was your TED Talk on procrastination?
So that was March of 2016, and I started this book 3 months later and fell into the biggest procrastination hole that I've ever fallen into.
Oh, wow.
The irony isn't lost on me. I mean, it's like, I just like, I like how much cred I have as for that TED Talk. I'm like, I am legit procrastinator. That is not, I'm not just saying it. Like,
but it wasn't just that.
That's true.
Because, I mean, you did intend it to start out as a blog post, but then you're like, actually, this needs to be multiple. Actually, let's make it into a full series. You know what? I'll turn it into a book. Yeah. And then that's where.
And what Liv witnessed a few times, and my wife has witnessed like 30 of these, is like these 180 epiphanies where I'll be like, I'll have a moment when and I don't know what, sometimes it's that there's a really good idea. Sometimes it's like, I'm just dreading having to finish this the way it is. And so there's epiphanies where it's like, you know what? I need to start over from the beginning and just make this like a short, like 20 little blog post list. And then I'll do that. And then I was like, no, I have like a new epiphany. I have to, and it's these, and yeah, it's kind of like the crazy person a little bit.
But anyway, can I tell the story of the bed?
Go for it.
All right. So things came to a head when we were all on vacation in Dominican Republic, Tim and his wife, me and Igor, and we were in the ocean. And I remember you'd been in the ocean for like an hour, just bobbing in there, becoming it. And we got talking, and we were talking about the book, and you were expressing just like this, the horror of the situation. Basically, you're like, look, I'm so close, but there's still this, and then there's this, and an idea popped into my head, which is that, poker players often, we will set ourselves like negative bets, essentially if we don't get a job done, then we have to do something we really don't want to do. So instead of having a carrot, like a really, really big stick. So I had the idea to ask Tim, okay, what is the worst, either organization or individual, that if you had to, that you would loathe to give a large sum of money to? Yeah. And he thought about it for a little while, and he gave his answer. And I was like, all right, what's your net worth? He said his net worth. All right, 10% of your net worth to that thing if you don't get the draft. Because, that's right, but just before that, I'd asked him, how long, like if you had a gun to your head, or to your wife's head, and you had to get the book into a state where you could like send off an edit to a draft to your editor, how long? And he's like, I guess like I could get it like 95% good in a month. I was like, okay, great. In 1 month's time, if you do not have that edit handed in,
see how scary?
This draft handed in,
scared,
really scary.
10% of your net worth is going to this thing that you really, really think is terrible.
But you're forgetting the kicker.
Go on.
The kicker was that, because, procrastinators, they self-defeat. That's what they do. And then Liv says, I'm going to sweeten the deal. And I am going to basically match you. And I'm going to send this like a huge amount of my own money there if you don't do it. So, and I can't, that would be really bad.
So
for
not
me.
only are you screwing yourself, you're screwing a friend.
And she was like, and as your friend, because I'm your friend, I will send it. I will send the money. I mean, like that, like tyranny.
Yeah.
I got the draft in.
Yeah.
I got the draft in. I know. I was.
Igor can attest to this. Like,
actually, it was funny because it was like supposed to be by the summer solstice or whatever it was. It was like a certain date, and
it was like 4 hours.
I got it in at 4. I got it in at 4 a.m. like the next morning. But then and they were both like, that doesn't count. I'm like, it does. It's still, for me, it's the same day. Still, it's okay. Can
you imagine how fucked in the head you have to be to like literally technically pass the deadline by 4 hours for an obscene amount of money to a thing you loathe? That's how bad his sickness.
Because I knew the hard deadline. I knew that there was no way she was going to actually send that money because it was 4 a.m. So I knew I actually had the whole night. So yeah,
I should actually punish you and just I should send like a nominal amount to that thing.
No thanks. No. But
is there some micro like lessons from how to avoid procrastination writing a book that you've learned?
Yes. Well, I've learned a lot of things. I mean, like, first, don't write like a dissertation about like proving some grand theory of society, because that's really procrastinating. Like I would have been an awful PhD student for that reason. So like I'm going to do another book, and it's going to be like a bunch of short chapters that are one-offs, because that's like, it just doesn't feed into procrastination.
But your book is like a giant like framework. There is grand theories all through your book.
I know, and I learned not to do that again. I did it once. I don't want to do it again.
Oh, with the book was a mistake.
I
so
learned
the book
that,
is a giant mistake.
Yes, don't do another one. Look, some people should. It's just not for me.
You just did it.
I know, and it almost killed me. Okay, so that's the first one. But secondly, like basically there's two ways to fix procrastination. One is it's like a picture, you have a boat that's leaking and it's not working very well. You can fix it in two ways. You can get your hammer and nails out and your boards and actually fix the boat, or you can duct tape it for now to get yourself across the river, but it's not actually fixed. So ideally, down the road, I have repaired whatever kind of bizarre mental illness that I have that makes me procrastinate in a very, like, I just don't self-defeat in this way anymore. But in the meantime, I can duct tape the boat by bringing what I call the panic monster into the situation via things like this and this scary person. And having external pressure, have external pressure of some kind is critical for me. Yes, I don't have the muscle to do the work I need to do without external pressure.
By the way, Liv, is there a possible future where you write a book?
And meanwhile, by the way, huge procrastinator. That's the funny thing about this.
Yeah.
I'm.
How long did your last video take you?
Oh my God.
Is there advice that you give to Liv how to get the videos done faster?
Well, it would be the same exact thing. I mean, actually, I can give good procrastination advice.
Panic monster.
We should do it together. It should be like we have this date, but it's we
should actually just do another bet. I have to have my script done by this time.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got to get the third part out.
Because then you'll actually do it. And it's not, the thing is the time in, but it's like if you could take 3 weeks on a video and instead you take 10 weeks, it's not like, oh, well, I'm having more fun in those 10 weeks. The whole 10 weeks are
torture.
bad.
Yeah, it's torture.
Bad. So you're just having a bad time, and you're getting less work done and less work out. And it's not like you're enjoying your personal life. It's bad for your relationships. It's bad for your own.
But you keep doing it anyway.
Yeah. Well, why do people have troubles keeping a diet? Right?
Yeah.
Primitive mind.
Why'd you point at me when you said that? That was offensive.
What's your procrastination weakness? Do you have one?
Everything.
What's he doing right now?
Everything. It's everything. Preparing for a conversation. I had your book, amazing book. I really enjoyed it. I started reading it. I was like, this is awesome. It's so awesome that I'm going to save it when I'm behind a computer and can take notes, like good notes. Of course, that resulted in like last minute. Everything. Yeah. Everything I'm doing in my life.
Not everyone's like that. People self-defeat in different ways. Some people don't have this particular problem. Adam Grant he calls himself a precrastinator, where if he gets an assignment, he will go home and do it until it's done and hand it in, which is also not necessarily good. It's like you're rushing it either way, but it's better. But some people have the opposite thing, where they will the the looming deadline makes them so anxious that they go and fix it, right? And the procrastinator, I think, has a similar anxiety, but they solve it in a totally different way.
Or they don't solve it. They just live with the anxiety.
Right.
Right. They just live with the anxiety. Now, I think there's a even bigger group of people. So there's these people, the Adam Grants, there's people like me, and then there's people who have a healthy relationship with deadlines, but they're still part of a bigger group of people that actually they need a deadline there to do something. So they still are motivated by a deadline. And as soon as you have all the things in life that don't have a deadline, like working out and like working on that album you wanted to write, they don't do anything either. So there's actually that's why procrastination is a much bigger problem than people realize, because it's not just the funny last second people. It's anyone who actually can't get things done that don't have a deadline.
You dedicate your book, quote, to Tanis, who never planned on being married to someone who would spend 6 years talking about his book on politics, but here we are. What's the secret to a successful relationship with a procrastinator? That's maybe for both of you.
Well, I think the first and most important thing.
You already started with a political answer. I can tell. Okay, go ahead.
No.
Okay.
The first and most important thing is because people who don't procrastinate, if you don't, it's like people, and the instinct is to judge it as like that either just think they're just being like a loser, or they'll take it personally, and instead to see this as like this is a some form of addiction or some form of ailment. They're not just being a dick, right? Yeah. Like they have a problem, and so some compassion, but then also maybe finding that line where you can, maybe apply some tough love, some middle ground. On the other hand, you might say that you don't want the significant other relationship where it's like they're the one nagging you. Maybe you don't want them even being part of that. And I think maybe it's better to have a Liv do it instead.
Right, having someone who can like create the infrastructure where they aren't the direct stick. You need a bit of carrot and stick, right? Maybe they can be the person who keeps reminding them of the carrot, and then they set up the friend group to be the stick, and then that keeps your relationship in a good place.
Stick like looming in the background. That's your friend group. Okay. At the beginning of the conversation, we talked about how all of human history can be presented as a 1,000-page book. What are you excited about for the 1,000th? What do you say that? First page? So the next 250 years. What are you most excited about?
I'm most excited about. Have you read The Fable of the Dragon?
No.
Okay. Well, it's an allegory for death, and it's Nick Bostrom, and he talks about he compares death to a dragon that eats 60 million people or whatever the number is every year, and every year we shepherd those people up and they feed them to the dragon, and that there's this Stockholm syndrome when we say that's just a lot of man, and that's what we have to do. And anyone who says maybe we should try to beat the dragon, they get called vain and narcissistic. But someone who does chemo, no one calls them vain or narcissistic. They say they're good for you, right? You're a hero. You're fighting the good fight. So I think there's some disconnect here, and I think that if we can get out of that Stockholm syndrome and realize that death is just the machine, the human physical machine failing, and that there's no law of nature that says you can't, with enough technology, repair the machine and keep it going until no one. I don't think anyone wants to live forever. People think they do. No one does. But until people are ready. And I think when we hit a world where we can we have enough tech that we can continue to keep the human machine alive until the person says, I'm done, I'm ready. I think we will look back and we will think that anything before that time, that'll be the real AD BC. We'll look back at BC before the big advancement, and it'll seem so sad and so heartbreaking, barbaric. And people will say, I can't believe that humans like us had to live with that when they lost loved ones and they died before they were ready. I think that's the ultimate achievement, but we need to stop criticizing and smearing people who you talk about it.
So you think that's actually doable in the next 250 years?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot happens in 250 years, especially when technology is really exponentially. Yeah.
And you think humans will be around versus AI completely takes over, where mortality means something completely different?
Look, the optimist in me, and maybe the stupid kind of 2023 person in me says, yeah, of course we'll make it. We'll figure it out. But we are going into I have a friend who knows as much about the future as anyone I know. I mean, he's a big investor in stuff, future tech, and he's really on the pulse of things. And he just says the future's going to be weird. That's what he says. Future's going to be weird, and it's going to be weird. Don't look at the last few decades of your life and apply that forward and say that's just what life is like. No. It's going to be weird and different.
Well, some of my favorite things in this world are weird. And speaking of which, it's good to have this conversation. It's good to have you as friends. This was an incredible one. Thanks for coming back. And Liv, thanks for talking with me a bunch more times. This was awesome.
Thank you, Lex.
Thank you.